Hey everyone. I'll take a minute to let some folks hop on. We are live on the Facebook page, LinkedIn, YouTube, and TikTok. And I wanted to come on this evening and talk about the election and immigration and what my fake crystal ball tells me. So for y'all that don't know me or have never joined my lives before, I am Carol Williams. I am the managing attorney at Williams Immigration, which is a boutique immigration law firm. We are headquartered out of sunny South Florida, but of course we work with clients nationally, all 50 states, as well as internationally. And so we just had an election, and I wanted to talk about what I think, what my personal crystal ball, what I think we can see with the new incoming president in January. So we are going to dive right in. So if you've been following me for any length of time on any of my platforms, first, I like to go live Monday mornings on LinkedIn. So my LinkedIn crew is probably a little surprised to see me on a Thursday evening. On Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, I tend to go live more in the evenings. So let's kind of dive in, and then if y'all have any questions along the way, we can certainly tackle those. Hey, Kay Renee, how are you? Thanks for joining. So we have lived under a Trump presidency before, so we kind of have an idea based on what happened previously when he was in office, based on immigration. So some of those things I think will come back. I think things will be a little bit harder. Will take a little bit longer. So let's kind of dive in. I think in general, I'm going to start with employment-based cases. I think in general, we're going to see more scrutiny than we are currently seeing in cases. And y'all, when I say that, that is not to say that the current adjudicators in immigration are not looking at our cases, that they're just giving us approvals all day long. If you listen to me on Monday mornings, I don't think that's the case. But I do think we're going to see a lot more scrutiny with our cases. I think that's going to have a profound effect on entry-level positions. So think about our folks that are currently here as F1 international students when they are transitioning to H-1Bs. I call the H-1B sort of our employment-based immigration workhorse. That is a lot of folks' first shot at staying in the U.S. And being employed and working for several years. So I think we're going to see a lot more scrutiny there. I think under the previous Trump administration, we saw little to no deference given to prior approvals. I think that will come back. I think we will see little to no deference, quite honestly, when we are filing extension applications for same employer, same job, same location, same seat, exact same job description. I think we're going to see little to no deference. That was one of the things that President Biden went back and said, guys, we kind of need to really think about this. So I think we're going to see that. And I think that is going to lead to more RFEs on initial applications, as well as our extension applications. That falls in line with more scrutiny. That said, I don't think all RFEs are bad. Again, if you've followed me for any length of time, I don't believe all RFEs are bad. An RFE is really an opportunity for the immigration officer to ask us clarifying questions. But again, this falls in line with additional scrutiny. So what I think employers and employees really need to consider is that the issuance of an RFE slows down the processing. It slows down the timeline that we always talk about. Everyone always asks me, how long is this going to take? An RFE slows down the timing for sure. So, my suggestion, what I think employers may want to think about a little bit more is filing applications as early as possible. Because I do think we're going to get more. I do think we're going to get more scrutiny. I do think we're going to see more RFEs. And so because those slow down the processing timelines, in order for us to sort of meet the business timelines that all businesses have, that I discuss with all of my clients, I think, filing as early as we possibly can will help alleviate the extended timelines there. I think we're going to see an end or a potential end to TPS, temporary protected status, for several countries. When previously in office, he wanted to end TPS and has made statements about doing that on this current campaign trail. So if you are an employer and you are currently employing folks that are currently currently on TPS, if you are an employee that is currently on TPS, my recommendation is that you start thinking about your plan B now and not wait. Start thinking about your plan B now, and then we can look into, do we have avenues to keep you in the US and work authorized? No employer wants to lose employees. No employer wants a gap in employment authorization. So I would highly recommend that we start looking at your options now. When we had the previous administration, during the first term, we had an advanced affidavit of support situation. That was an incredibly lengthy form that asked for a whole lot of information, a whole lot of financial information. My very own personal, very fake crystal ball. I think we may see that again. I think he will want to ensure that all immigrants are not receiving any government public assistance benefits. So I think we will see again the enhanced scrutiny when it comes to potentially becoming a public charge. And that is something that the current Biden administration did away with. We have seen for a while now a waiver of green card interviews, especially if the Immigration Service thought that you had a very clean, very cookie cutter marriage case or family-based case for green card. We've been seeing quite a few cases get approved without interviews. I think that ship has sailed. I think that's going to end shortly after inauguration in January. So if you were waiting for some reason to file that application, I would say stop waiting. Stop waiting. If you were waiting a little bit to, and hoping that you could also wait, file, and not have an interview, I truly think that ship has sailed. I talk quite a bit in my Monday morning lives on LinkedIn about STEM. And that is in part because I get a lot of calls about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. The Immigration Service has given us guidance on how they process cases that touch STEM fields, specifically extraordinary ability cases, national interest waiver green card cases. I am not convinced quite yet that the new administration is going to change how STEM cases are being processed. I keep telling people, just because your case involves STEM, a STEM field, doesn't mean that it is an automatic approval. It does not mean that at all. Even if your case is STEM, you still have to show that you meet the criteria. And those are pretty strict criteria. And we have some flexibility in how we show that we meet the criteria. But it's a fairly high bar, y'all. So I'm not quite sure just quite yet that we're going to see a massive change in how cases that involve STEM are processed. So I will for sure keep an eye on that. I will let you know. As you know, as the days move on, I will certainly let you know. The one thing I can say, and y'all probably aren't going to like this, but the one thing we know from his previous administration is the only constant will be change. We saw a record number of policy changes, and they came at us fast and furiously. I will say this: a tweet, a social media post is not the law. There's a lot that has to happen within an agency before they completely change how they are doing things and how they are processing cases. So, you know, if you work with me, then you already know that I keep on track of what's happening in social media, because I do think that the social media posts are an eye and a view into what the administration is thinking, and to changes that they may try to institute in the future, or in the future could be in a month or so, right? So I do absolutely keep abreast of that on behalf of my clients. But again, just because something is posted on social media does not make it the law. So it's kind of what I wanted to talk about. And I'm more than happy to answer. I think we've got some questions that are brewing. So let me look at these questions. What do we got here, y'all? What do we got? Y'all know I'm like a slow and slightly bad scroller here. So let me see what we have. And if you don't have questions, that's totally fine too. But I thought I saw a few scrolling in. Let's see here. Someone's asking if I do VAWA. Typically, my firm does not handle VAWA cases. Someone's asking, do you think a change is coming with filing I-130s for spouses from West Africa? I think there are changes coming for family-based cases in general. I think we are going to see more scrutiny on those cases. I think interviews that were previously waived, or scenarios or cases, fact patterns that had interviews previously waived for the past couple of years, I don't think we're going to be seeing. I don't think we're going to be seeing interviews waived. I think we're going to see an increase in backlogs in our family cases in general, in part because I think more people are now going to file. I think we're going to see an uptick in filing, and that is going, and I think we're going to see an uptick in filing, more scrutiny, more RFEs, which is all going to lead into a longer processing time and more backlog. I don't know that I see anything specific to individuals or spouses, family members that are coming from West Africa. That's just, again, my very fake crystal ball take on that. So I hope that's helpful. What else do we have? I'm filing an I-130 for my 2 children, one from Africa. and one is 14 and the other one is 23. I don't actually know that there's a question in there. If there is, feel free to put it in. Will persons with social security and work permit be affected who is married to a U.S. citizen? I don't understand your question. Persons with social security will be affected. I don't understand your question. If you could rephrase that, that would be super helpful. And if you all, if you have friends that you think may want to join, feel free to send this live to them. Let's see here. Let's see what else we have by way of questions. This question here on VAWA. My firm does not handle VAWA, so I am not the right person. I'm not the right person to answer VAWA. That is definitely not in my current wheelhouse. Do I think the I-129F will be delayed in 2024 and 2025? So the I-129F, for those of you that may not know, is the fiancé visa. It's the first part of the application that was filed with USCIS. Do I think it'll be delayed in 2024 and 2025? Probably. Yeah, I do. I think all visa categories are looking at some backlogs coming at us. So you didn't say if you had filed or not, but I am encouraging people not to wait to file, though I always encourage people not to wait to file. If you are waiting for things to get better, get easier, get quicker, that's just, we're not there. We're not there, y'all. We are absolutely not there. Things are gonna take as long as they take. Things are gonna take longer than they have been. But if you don't get yourself in line, and you don't get your application filed, then it's going to take even longer. So just keep that in mind. What's the probability of getting a B1, B2 visa after I-130 denial/revocation? There's a lot going on that question. So a denial is very different than a revocation. A denial means you never got it in the first place. A revocation means you got it and they, for some reason, took it away. So those are two very, very different scenarios within the immigration world. And the probability of you getting a B1, B2 visa after either of those two things happening, I don't know. I have no facts to go on. So all of the immigration agencies talk, right? And so I sort of lump them all into all the immigration agencies, right? But your B1, B2 is issued at the consulate, and that's Department of State. Your I-130 is processed from USCIS, which is the immigration service inside the U.S., right? But those folks talk, like they have the ability to share information. So depending on why the I-130 was denied or revoked, could in fact factor into, the later approval of a B1, B2 visa. So yeah, the short answer is I don't know, but it could absolutely have a negative impact. What else? Can adultery prevent you from being a U.S. citizen? That is a super open-ended question. We'd have to have an offline conversation, find out where you are in your immigration process, and what else is surrounding that question. Let's see here. What else do we have? Green card holder here. I'm eligible to file on 2026. Am I good? Are we talking you're eligible to file your citizenship application? That's what I'm going to guess. You will be good to file your citizenship application if you meet all the criteria, right? So there's a sad face there, and I get that. And you're worried, and I get that too. What I tell people is, I don't know if you're going to get approved. I can't guarantee or promise an approval, right? What gets you closer to an approval with the Immigration Service, with the Department of State, at the consulate level, are really good documents. The Immigration Service can't go by what I say, right? They know that my job as an attorney is to say glowing things about my clients. Oh, this client's the best thing since sliced bread. They're so this, they're so that, they're so wonderful, right? That does nothing if I don't have documents from my clients to back up the statements that I want to make about my clients, right? So if you are eligible for citizenship and you meet the criteria, then you meet the criteria, and I would recommend, if you meet the criteria, that you file, right? If you don't meet the criteria, then I would recommend that you not file. It'll be assuming you meet those criteria in 2026. I don't know what it's going to look like in 2026. I don't know, right? I wish I did, but I don't. But I think you just have to kind of wait till 2026, see what's going on, hop back on another one of my lives in 2026, re-ask the question. Certainly I'm always happy to have that conversation, but I don't know what things are going to look like in 2026. But I will say, for people that are eligible now for citizenship and you meet the criteria, go ahead and file. Absolutely, go ahead and file. Let's see here. What else do we have in terms of questions? Is it possible to petition a sibling that is already in the U.S.? Yes, it is possible to petition for a sibling, excuse me, for a green card that is already in the U.S. Again, as long as you meet the criteria. However, processing for a sibling takes a very long time. So I don't know your particular, excuse me, I don't know your particular circumstances, but processing for a sibling takes a very long time. When someone comes to me and says that they want to process for a sibling, we always look and see whether or not there are other ways that your sibling can qualify for a green card. Sorry, getting over a cold after quite a bit of travel. What do we got here? What else do we have here? I filed in July for the I-129F and I haven't heard anything yet. I'm guessing your question is that normal? Short answer is, I don't know. The longer answer is probably. Everything's taking a long time. But you can go on to USCIS and check the processing times with, you can check the processing times on USCIS.gov. And you can also go in and enter, you can go on USCIS.gov and enter in your specific receipt number. And then it will tell you if it is too early to start making inquiries. I'm going to suspect that it is way too early and that they are well within processing times. I would be shocked if they are processing July 2024 cases for an I-129F right now. I could be wrong. I absolutely could be wrong, but I would be shocked if they were. But I would recommend that you go on USCIS.gov and take a peek at that and see what they're currently processing. Charity 007, I like that name. You are quite welcome. My pleasure. I don't see. Let's see here. Someone, you've got a question on VAWA. My office doesn't handle VAWA cases, so I'm not the best person to answer that for you. VAWA is not within my wheelhouse. Let me see here. Someone is asking if there's anything that would void a DNA test done for immigration. So DNA tests are typically done in immigration cases when you're trying, just like any other reason to do a DNA test, right? You're trying to prove relationships. So typically I see it done when we have a father that was not married to the mother and not on the birth certificate at the time of the child's birth. And USCIS wants, USCIS and the consulates, depending if the consulates are involved, want to make sure that that child is indeed, related to that parent, that father. They have pretty detailed, I guess is the word I'm looking for, pretty detailed requirements on what types of organizations and which organizations USCIS will accept DNA testing from. So if that is a situation that you are in, they really, when I've had that happen in a previous case, USCIS sent information about that. And so it was very clear information. So is there anything that could void that DNA test being done? Sure, if it's not done according to USCIS rules. So I would definitely take a look at the USCIS requirements when it comes to DNA testing. Typically, I shouldn't say typically, DNA testing can sometimes be a little wonky because, if one party is outside the US, another party is in the US, there's a lot of coordination that has to happen. So you want to make sure that you are using a company that is that meets all of the USCIS criteria. Let's see, again, another valid question. So I will not even pretend that I know the answer to your question. What do I do if my I-130, what do I do if the I-130 is denied and I'm still waiting for the notice letter? You continue to wait for the notice letter. That letter is going to tell you why your I-130 was denied. And depending on the reasons for denial, it will help you and your attorney, if you have one, strategize how to move forward with that case. So no mention of when it was denied. And so that kind of brings me to another thing. When you check your online account through my USCIS, or you plug in your receipt number and you put it onto the my USCIS or the USCIS.gov website, and it says, an RFE has been issued, or, we've requested additional information, or what have you. Unless they're uploading that RFE into your My USCIS account, if they are mailing it, it's going to take a little bit for it to get to you, or to me as your lawyer, right? So I don't have instant access to the RFE. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's going to take a little bit, and that waiting is hard. I know, because I wait for them as well to come in, but that waiting is hard. But sometimes you're just gonna have to wait for them to get it to you. And usually on the online system, it'll say, like, if you haven't received this notification, by X day or within a certain amount of days, like, let them know you haven't received it. And you can do that right online on the USCIS.gov website, and they will send you another one. How long from submitting adjustment of status through marriage? How long from submitting adjustment of status through marriage immigration would you say they get it? I'm not 100% sure I understand your question. So I'm going to kind of take this question in a couple different ways. For USCIS to physically get your package, honestly, it depends on how you mail it, right? Like, my office mails everything generally via FedEx. So they usually get it next day or 2 day or 3 day. Now, although I'm pretty sure that's not what you're asking me. If you're asking me how long it takes someone to get their green card from the time that they file their adjustment of status through marriage, completely depends on what your category is. And it depends on what office is adjudicating your application. So I don't know processing times off the top of my head. I have to look them up each and every single time. And I keep saying I'm going to do a video to show you guys how you can look up your processing times. But then I get like then I get like shiny object syndrome, which I suffer from. But yeah, so processing times are different. They're not the same for everyone. But it is going to take more than a minute. It's going to take more than a minute. What else do we have here? Someone is asking about asylum, and my office doesn't handle asylum cases, so I unfortunately don't know the answer to your asylum-based questions. What else do we have here? Someone is asking, should they renew their green card that does not have an expiration date, issued quite some time ago, before they apply for their citizenship? It's really kind of a strategy question. It's completely up to you if you want to renew that. If you want to get another one, there's, as long as there's nothing wrong with your card and it's served you well all this time, you don't particularly need to get a new one. But again, that's a strategy question. So if you want to talk about that more in depth, I'm more than happy to do that via a consult with you. That's an asylum question, which I don't know the answer to. A VAWA question, which again, I don't know the answer to, since I don't handle asylum or VAWA. Let me see if I have any more questions hanging out there. Because y'all know me if you've ever been on any of my lives. I like to go live before dinner. So if there's no more questions, then I will go pop out and get some dinner. Let's see here. And I don't see any more questions. So yeah, I'm gonna hop off, go get some dinner. I hope this was helpful. I know there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of questions surrounding immigration post-election. And I will do what I can to help y'all, right? That's what I do. I'm an immigration lawyer. So I've been practicing for a while now. I used to work inside USCIS. So I kind of know how the agency thinks, how they operate. And so I bring that knowledge when I help my clients. But it's gonna be what it's gonna be. It's gonna be a little rocky sometimes. Sometimes we're gonna have to change our strategy based on policy changes. And we will ride the roller coaster as it comes, as we've been doing. So again, if you have any questions, you want a consultation, you want to kind of see if my office is a good fit for working with you on your case, feel free to schedule a consultation. We can certainly do that. But I'm going to log off. I'm going to go get some dinner, and I will chat with y'all later. Bye, guys.